The truth, the girls. The truth, the girls.
Hi everyone. Well, I just wanted to give you a little update about what's been going on in Quebec. My last vlog, I told you that the Parti Quebecois had won our provincial election with a minority government. So they have a minority government, and on the night of the Parti Quebecois victory, there was seemingly an assassination attempt on the leader, that's Mme Marois, at the Club Metropolis, where she was giving her victory speech. And in my previous video I said that I had my suspicions that the person who did this, who was called Richard Bain, was possibly one of these mind control slaves. I know that sounds weird, but I explained why I believe this is a possibility in my previous video, which I'll give you a link to that at the end of this video. So update: Quebec shooting suspect Richard Bain arraigned on 16 charges, including first-degree murder. And and I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm kind of in a rush because it's like the end of the day. I gotta go pick up my son. I forgot to introduce you. This is Arron the Barbarian. I'm sorry, Arron.
Just
my doll.
Spectator like you guys.
He just came in, so I said, hey, you know, like, why don't you come do the video with me? Okay, so what happened was that Bain was behind the Metropolis, and he shot two people. Denis Blanchette, a 48-year-old man, he shot him dead, and he also injured another 27-year-old man. He did not actually make it into the club, and so Mme Marois was not injured. She was whisked off the stage. This is from Yahoo News. Quebec election shooting suspect faces 16 charges. All right, of note, it says here that Bain was in a proper state of mind to appear in court after spending some time in a hospital. So he is apparently mentally lucid, not ranting, raving crazy like he was on the night that he did this. And also it says here that neighbors and acquaintances say that he was a friendly but often frustrated businessman with several failed ventures, but he had never had any public outbursts, leaving them to wonder how he could be charged with such crimes. Which is what I said. This is very strange. He did this wearing a balaclava and a bathrobe, and was ranting and raving and shouting things like, "The English are waking up." Also, the mayor of La Conception, Maurice Plouffe, said that even though Bain was sometimes frustrated in his dealings with the city after seeing a number of zoning requests were rebuffed, he said, "I have never seen him become aggressive. He was quite normal." And this was what made me think that really this guy could have been one of these people programmed by the MK Ultra program, which was very active here in Montreal, especially at the Arron Memorial, and during the time when this man, Mr. Bain, was young. And it's actually quite possible. And this is something you would see: a person who seems to be completely normal, who has a reputation for not being crazy or violent or aggressive or anything, suddenly going on a totally out of character rampage and doing something absolutely radical. And here's another thing that leads me to believe that this may have been a lie hop, was a posting by a guy called Stephen Guy Sevigny on Facebook. And what he says, basically, I'll just summarize it for you. It's in French. What he says was that he had gotten word that there was going to be an assassination attempt, that somebody was showing pictures of Mme Marois and his guns and saying he was going to kill her at the Metropolis that night, and that this guy, Stephen Guy Sevigny, alerted the Parti Quebecois, and he also spoke to the police and the Sûreté de Québec and gave his statement, his deposition, and was told, "Don't worry about it. You know, we'll look after it. Everything will be fine." And I somehow wonder whether they really did everything they could. Now, imagine if this was not Mme Marois, this was President Bush, let's say, for example.
In general, it's high security, so I really doubt it.
You would think that if it was somebody like President Bush or some other, you know, really important person in the New World Order, that they would have had a lot of security, and Quebec is capable of that. I mean, you could see their show of force during the student protests, which, by the way, good news, Mme Marois says they will not be hiking tuition, so on a positive note. But I get the feeling, maybe it's just my women's intuition or whatever, but I get the feeling that it was a lie hop. That is not anything to do with pancakes, well, other than the World Trade Center. Lie hop is let it happen on purpose. And I don't really think that their intention was to kill her. I mean, this is just speculation, but I think this may have been a way of just sending her a message. okay, you know, you're in, well, with the minority, but you better toe the line. So that's it. I just think that he has classic mind control slave behavior, like a normal person who just suddenly goes ballistic. That's what happens. These people are programmed with post-hypnotic suggestions so that after they've been programmed, they can just be triggered with a certain word, and then they can be used to carry out, you know, any kind of act that their handlers want them to. So, you know, this is what it looks like to me. Plus, I think that the shooting was also a lie-hop, because I'm sure that if it was somebody like President Bush, they could have done a lot more to prevent it. So what do you think?
It's weird, like all these crazy shootings, like isn't there any normal crazy people out there that would do this without needing the government to mind control them and trigger?
Well, there could be, but normally people who are crazy, they act crazy, you know.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, like they don't
yeah.
just act normal businessman and suddenly does this.
Yeah, but all these like lone wolves, they seem to be like, they're reported to be like very calm and.
Yeah, that's because they're usually Manchurian candidates. That's what I find.
Yeah.
There's a lot of this going on. I mean, there's the Undie bomber. There was the guy who cut off somebody's head on a bus.
James Holmes.
Very
strange guy.
Yeah, lots of weird stuff like that. And I think that, you know, if they wanted to really beef up security and make sure nobody gets hurt, they would have done it.
Yeah. Well, they just beef up security in general, but leave doors wide open when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, exactly. Plenty of security for visiting, you know, American war criminals and for the student protests, and then Mme Marois almost gets killed. Well, or maybe not almost, but somebody did get killed. Anyway, I find it really strange. I think we just had like a false flag, or like a kind of almost a coup up here. And I think though that the result of I mean, the politicians, like, it's all corrupt, and there's no, like, really good government, you know. I mean, there's just a lot of corruption, of course. But I think it's kind of good scenario here. We have a minority PQ government, and it's, like, you know, split up pretty evenly with 54-50, 19-2. So I'd say that's pretty good for us. I'm okay with that. I mean, as okay as I could be with any kind of election results. So the thing is, as I explained in the other video, the Anglo-Canadian elite, they really want to allow corporations to exploit the natural resources of Quebec as much as possible, including with fracking. And the Parti Quebecois has been very resistant to fracking. And so they'd like to get other parties in that government so they can get their fracking agenda underway. That has a lot to do with it. And that they couldn't have really thought Francois Legault was going to win, but I think they just tried to get him to get as much support as possible so that the PQ would have a minority. So maybe that's not such a good thing after all. Maybe it would have been better if the PQ had a majority. Oh, who knows? They're all so rotten.
Yeah, it just seems like
it's hopeless.
Whoever's running the show is like driving the ship into the ground anyways.
Yeah, one way or another. But fracking is really bad, so at least we can maybe keep fracking out of the picture. I don't know. Anyway, lie-hop. Manchurian candidate, that's what I think. Globalist agenda. Alright, thanks for listening to us, and we'll see you next time.